everyone, I am Penner Natalia Alexandrovna, Senior Lecturer of Foreign Languages and Literature Department of Saktagan Biography University. Today we are going to speak about very important topic, how to assess our students' achievement. When we organize a learning process, we think not only about the goals, but we think about the results. So the topic of the lecture today is control as a model for managing the quality of a foreign language education process and its results. We're going to study not so many questions, but they're very big ones. Control is a model for managing the quality of a foreign language educational process and its result, and types and forms of control. So, effective ways of assessment of students' progress. What is assessment, first of all? Assessment is a process by which information relative to some known objectives or goal is obtained. What is assessment in education? It is the process of gathering, interpreting, recording, and using information about students' responses to an educational task. That is a definition given by Harlan, Gibbs, Broadfoot, and et al. In 1992. What is assessment? So we have the diagram of different types of assessment, and you will see really we have the types of assessment here. Continuous assessment, formal, informal, portfolio, subjective, objective, placement test, and so on. But first of all, we need to answer the question, why do we assess? We know that the role of the teacher is to plan, to organize, to manage, to conduct the lesson, but why do we assess? There are different purposes. The first one, to improve, then to inform, and to prove. What are the functions of assessment? The first function is diagnostic. It tells us what the student needs to learn. Formative tells us how well the student is doing as work progress. And summative tells us how well the student did at the end of the term, at the end of semester, and so on. So we assess to provide feedback to learners on their progress, to provide feedback to learners on their achievement, to get information about learners' ability to understand or use target language structures or vocabulary, to help teachers know how to help their learners, to get information about learners' skills development, and to find out whether learners like or dislike specific classroom activities. So these are the purposes for assessment of the students. So what do we do for diagnostic purpose? To use information for diagnostic purpose, to use information about learners' strengths and weaknesses, to provide information which can feed into planning, to let learners know what standards they need to reach, to see whether learning objectives are being achieved, to provide records for schools, and to provide information for parents. Our parents, all the time, they want to know about the progress of their students, their children. How should we assess? Day-to-day observation, tests and quizzes, rubrics, rating scales, project works, portfolios. Types of assessment. Assessment for learning. We call it formative, diagnostic and formative. Assessment as learning, that is involves self-peer assessment. And assessment for learning, of learning. Assessment for learning, as learning, and of learning. That is summative assessment. Assessment for learning, taken at varying intervals throughout a course to provide information and feedback that will help to improve the quality of students' learning and the quality of the course itself. Learner-centered, teacher-directed, mutually beneficial, formative, context-specific, ongoing and firmly rooted in good practice. Provides information on what an individual students need to practice, to have retaught, and to learn next. Assessment of learning. Generally taken by students at the end of the unit or semester to demonstrate the sum of what they have or have not learned. That's why it is called summative assessment. Summative assessment methods are the most traditional way of evaluating students' work. Good summative assessment tests and other graded evaluations must be demonstrably reliable, valid, and free bias. Forms of summative assessment. performance assessment, portfolio, and traditional tests. The effective teacher will consider interdisciplinary performance assessment, which will help create opportunities for students to connect what they are learning in the EF classroom to the outside world. Steps of organizing performance assessment. Performance assessment. Do you remember? This is one of the type of summative assessment. Teacher assigns tasks, criteria for good performance are worked out, teacher and other students evaluate, feedback on strengths, improvements is given. Feedback must be given on preparation, feedback on language skills, and feedback on delivery, not only just on the results. Another way of assessment the students, that is portfolios. Students' work is all in one place. It's so nice. Students put items in portfolios. Easy to use students' work for checking their progress because everything is collected in one place and can be used for classes of all sizes, ages, and levels. So that is the way, of course, it's time-consuming way of assessment, but it's very beneficial because you have paper proof of the work of the student and your work. Language portfolio. It differs from portfolio in general because this is a collection of students' works, an effective assessment tool. Here, using this portfolio, you see the progress of the student in learning a language. Portfolio has three parts: a language passport, a language biography, and a dossier. A language passport, it provides an overview of the language a student knows or is learning. Passport, an outline of the course or course materials. That is the page which helps us to see the divisions of the portfolio. Language biography contains students' progress in learning languages and can do statements with children coloring and complete as they progress, building up to a personalized learning diary. It's a kind of diagram of students' progress. Dossier, it's a personal collection of students' works where they file any special pieces of work, pictures, recordings, which illustrate their experiences and achievements. Songs, emails, messages, written works, photos, audio, video recordings. It's very, very important, by the way, to have audio, video recordings of the students' work because it's a kind of proof for the parents, the results of the students' work. Descriptions and results of project works, copies of postcards, letters, and whatnot. Different types of assessment of students' progress allow teachers to evaluate the extent to which students meet the objectives of the curriculum. So if we combine all these ways of assessment, we have the general picture of students' progress. And of course, it's impossible to cover all the questions in such short period of time. And here you have a list of literature devoted to different types of assessment, which will be very useful for you to study and to use in your practice.